get started. So for our fiscal year end, you can go to the next one or to the first one, I should say. We want to start with the 4 biggies for the fiscal year end report. So this is your report that you're going to be doing when you close everybody out, when we finish off the year. There are some that do this in May, and there's some, and most of you do it, like 75% do it in June. So these are the biggies. These are the 4 big criteria that you want to make sure that you've done. And we're going to go through each one of these individually, but I just want to give you a top layer of what we're going to be talking about. So the first one is all of your members must be closed by reporting hours and last day worked. So on this report, whether it's the May report or the June report, make sure you have all your last day worked, and that's the last day they're actually in the school working, and make sure you have their hours on there. And we'll get into that a little bit deeper as we move through the screens. You also want to make sure that your final year, you have everything completed by July 15th. So even if you do a May one, because we do have sometimes people have a May report and they close everybody out and they go, oh, I forgot so-and-so did some summer school. So we need to make sure we've got everything completed by July 15th, no date later than that date. And you want to make sure that you're reporting the salary when it's earned, not when you pay it. And this goes kind of hand in hand with the contract payouts. Yes, you will pay them in June, July, and August, but it's salary that was earned in this fiscal year. So it has to be all on your June report. You can pay them whenever you want, but if it's earned in the fiscal year you're reporting, that's where it needs to show up. It can't be on a July or August report, because then you're into the new fiscal year. And this affects, their salaries for if they're retiring, we go by the top 3. And so if that gets moved into a different year, it's not going to be accurate for what their retirement salaries should be. And then the big one, do not report any unused sick, personal, or vacation leave. So if they get something at the end, and some of these can be $3,000, $4,000, do not put that on your final report, because it is not reportable to TFFR. Next screen, please. So let's get a little bit more into what's the last day worked and the total hours. Now I want to start out by saying that there should be a button or however you want to call it on your software where you can pick the last report of the fiscal year, so that these get added on from your software. So this should be coming over when you upload your report. The only thing is we want you to check them just to make sure that it's right. I mean, the software doesn't always pick up the right amount of hours, and we want you to be double checking these. And one way to check them is for the total hours. Your full-time teachers will always max at 700 hours. So this is your regular full-time teachers. If they work, technically they work probably 2,000 hours a year, but we max to get a full service credit. We do have them maxing at 700 hours. Now your part-time teachers, you want to figure this manually, and your system should do this for you also. But you're going to take the number of days times the number of hours they're working per day to get their total hours. Now, if they're a part-time teacher and they can get over 700, you could have a part-time teacher working 1,000 hours a year. They're also going to max at that 700 hours. But if they're under and they have 300 hours or 400 hours, that's what should be on the report. And we can we do have reports that we get later that'll, we'll know how much salary they had and how many hours. And if it looks goofy, we will be reaching out to you. So double check those. If they have $10,000 in salary and you've got them listed as 650 hours, okay, that doesn't work together. So double check those and make sure. Or if they, have $40,000 in salary and you're giving them 200 hours, probably not correct either. So double check those, and you can you can adjust those on your side, on your software, or you can adjust it once it gets over here. So that was one thing last year that it just kind of got away from us because we had so much else going on with the new system. And so actually a gal in our office is doing phone calls to a lot of you to get those corrected. So it'd be nice if we could have less of that this year. So double check your part-time teachers and your full-time to make sure the hours are correct. The retired teachers, of course, are always special. And for them, we want to have actual hours. So they won't max at the 700. We want to know, did they work 1,200 hours? Did they work 1,600 hours? We want that number for them to be the actual amount that they are working. They're receiving a benefit from us, and so we monitor how many hours they're working according to their length of contract. So we want to make sure that we have the exact number of hours for them. And again, this is something too that last year just kind of got away from us with everything going on. And so we are double checking, and you may get some emails from us if you had some goofy hours for your retired teachers. You can exclude the extracurricular, the professional development, and the in-staff subbing because they are not reportable to us for a retired teacher. So you don't include those in your hours, just the amount of hours for the reported salary that you've sent to us. And then remember to always expense any remaining contract salary. So again, like I said, with your contract payouts, make sure you've included all the salary that they earned for the fiscal year 25-26. And even though you pay in July and August, that's still earned in this fiscal year and should be on your June report. And I just wanted to mention real quick on the last day worked that you do want to make sure that that date is the day that they were last in the school working. For most of them, it's going to be the last day of school. But if they did summer school or driver's ed, if they're an administrator, that could be a June date. Can't be any later than June 30th though, because if you get into it, if you put a July date, you're in the next fiscal year. And that should be on your next July report. But that should be the last day that they actually worked. A lot of times we'll get reports and everybody's June 15th, 2026. Well, that's probably your payroll day that the system picked up. So if that happens, we'll have to have you adjust them either on your side or our side. It should be an individual date for each person. So that's how the last day taught and worked and the hours worked. And hopefully, like I said, that'll be a little smoother this year with being familiar with the system. Next page, please. And this is a screenshot of what it looks like once you've uploaded the report to us. And you can go into the actual payroll detail. This is where you want to make sure you're checking. So this is an individual person that, once you get your report uploaded and you go into the valid or the review, which is by that pie chart on that first page, and then you click into it, you can go into each person individually. And this is where you're going to check the last day taught and the hours worked and make sure that they're reasonable for what you think it should be. If not, you can change it on our side. And if you have any questions on that, just put in a contact ticket. We'll get right back to you. So that will be where you can double check to make sure they're in there. And sometimes we get them, if you don't pick that last report for the year, you will have nothing here. And so make sure that that's on there. Just a quick double check for you. Next screen, please. So our reporting deadlines. So the reports are due the 15th of the following month. So an example is your June report is due July 15th, no later. And you can only one report can be submitted. I've had people say, well, I'm going to send my June report and then I'll send you my contract payouts later. Or I did a May report and I'm going to do another May report because I missed something. You can only do one report per day and per month. Then if your reports are late, there is the $250 penalty plus the 1% interest of the amount due. So that's the amount of the contributions, which you all know if you're doing your May and June reports and you have contract payouts, that's a big amount than a normal month. So that 1% can add up pretty fast. And our system now just automatically does them. In our old system, we would have to do all the manual work to do it. So there's no way for us to stop this. The system will just automatically do it. We have mentioned waivers before if there's, a death in the school, or I always talk about Northwood. Northwood had a tornado one year. Well, yeah, we're going to be accepting of that. They would go through Chase and he would determine if it was something that was out of your total control. And we can waive the $250, but we cannot waive the 1% interest. And that's usually the bulk of the amount of the money. So work to get that report done by July 15th. So we can get, and the thing is on our side is we're the first step. And so we have fiscal waiting because they want to close out their year. And we've got all these other people cut us. Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Are you done yet? And so we want to get our stuff done by July 15th. And if you are going to finish up on your May report, if that's going to be your last for the year, and like I said, there's probably about 30 of you that are able to wrap up in May, and you've got everybody closed out, just drop a contact ticket in and say, hey, I'm done. I will not have a June report, so that we're not bugging you for that report. We know that you're done. And but somehow just let us know that this is your last report. And next screen. And I did want to go through the summer salaries. This gets kind of confusing for people. A lot of you have summer school teachers, you have driver's ed teachers, and they may work, most of June and then a little bit in July. Like I know some of the driver's ed teachers will do their school classroom in June, and then in July they're doing the behind the wheel. Those are two separate things. You want to, if they're earning it in June and they're actually working in June, that's on the June report. The stuff that they're doing in July, where they're actually earning it in July, that's reported on July and goes into the next fiscal year. We have had recommendations from our audit department that you consider using contracts. Like if you have a summer school contract or a driver's ed contract, have a contract that shows what date they're actually starting and what date they're ending, because that's going to help you a lot with payroll. If it says it starts June 20th and goes through July 14th, well, then you have to split those two because you're in two different fiscal years. So that's a really good suggestion from them. And then make sure that you include any professional development. We've worked with people that, somebody has gone to a conference on July 2nd and they forgot to report it. That should be, that's still reportable salary and it should be reported. In that case, it would go on to the July report, but you want to make sure that you catch all that professional development that's happening in the summertime. And the next screen. So I want to go through what's reportable and what's not reportable. Now we created these pay codes. This came with our new system. And so we have the 12 standardized pay codes now. We had some schools that had 50 and we had some schools that had 3. And so we have these pay codes and I'm going to show you, let me do a share here. So I am on our website, which is the www.rio.nd.gov. And if you go into the TFFR Employer, which is this button right here, and then go down to MyTFFR Resources. And if we come down here, you're going to see pay code definitions. So if we click on there, and I've suggested that people print this out and put it on your wall, on a bulletin board or something next to your desk. This is going to show you the pay codes that each thing that you're going to be reporting ties out to. And this is something that you do on your software. So just to give you an example of some of the salary that is reportable. So under pay code 1 is your main teaching. So of course, any of the teaching contracts, any of your, your principals, administrators, this is their main teaching salary. That's going to get reported. So any of your extracurricular duties. So if they're a coach, if they're a drama coach, if they're a class advisor, if they're helping with the yearbook, your athletic directors, that's all going to be reportable salary also. I do want to mention that if they're a tournament manager, then it is not going to be reportable. Just the athletic directors are reportable. And your technology coordinator is going to be the pay code 3. The only people that are reported from the IT area are your tech coordinators. If you've got somebody that's sitting at the help desk or, just doing some troubleshooting, they're not reportable to us. Just the tech coordinator is. And then, of course, like I've mentioned, all your summer school programs, your driver's ed, or make sure you report it when it's earned. Summer school, they could have a lot of other things they're doing during the summer. Make sure that's reporting. Your in-staff subbing. So in-staff subbing is if you have a teacher that is contracted with you and they're subbing in your school, then it's reportable by you on your report. The difference that we see a lot of times is like sometimes with the special ed units, they will have a teacher that is working in a different school. Like let's say they have their contract with the special ed department, but they're working in Lisbon. Well, if Lisbon asks them to sub, it's not reportable because they don't have their contract with Lisbon. They have it with the special ed unit. So they would be the ones, if they, would sub with them, then they would report it. So that gets a little bit confusing, but that's the definition of in-staff subbing. They have to be contracted through your school and doing subbing for you. So any of your professional development, your curriculum, your mentoring, all that is considered reportable for us. Any adult education, any dual credit is going to be reportable. Any of your assessments or tutoring, if they're working with the hearing and the speech, that type of thing is going to be, kindergarten prep, I want to mention that. We get asked that one a lot. Make sure that you're reporting that. And any time spent on grant writing. So it's the time that they're spending. If they get a little percentage of the grant for doing it, that's not reportable. Just the time that they've spent on the grant writing. If they do any travel between schools, if they are teaching in your high school and then they run over to your elementary school, they're still under contract with you. So both of those should be reportable, plus the time that they're spending to have to get to one place to the other. And then your paid leave, and I mentioned, unused is not reportable, but if they're getting paid annual or paid sick or paid funeral, that salary is reportable to us. And then any other pay codes, these are, or any other salary, these are ones where we get a lot of questions. And if you aren't sure if it should be reportable or where you should put it, make sure you reach out to us, send in a contact ticket, and we'll get you. Those are a lot of times some of the ones that go to Chase, because there's some creative salaries and positions right now. So we want to make sure that we figure those out. And just to have a quick reminder too, that I can mention what's reportable salary, but just the top line of this is they have to have a contract to do it, and they have to be licensed through ESPB. I have a North Dakota ESPB license. So remember that. I mean, we list all these, but that's still the two things first, and then you go by reportable salary. And the next screen. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. And then, of course, your non-reportable salary. These are the different salary pieces that you can give to your teachers, but you do not report them to TFFR. So any amounts received in lieu of a previously employer-provided benefit. So a lot of times this might happen with an administrator where, they had a family health plan and the kids are off, married and gone, and so they want to go down to just a simple health plan that's not family. And they want to drop that, but they want to increase their wages because they're not going to be getting that benefit. That amount of increase is not reportable to us. And that's a tricky one. If you have something like that happening or somebody talking about it, drop us a contact ticket and we can talk about it. Because sometimes it's sometimes it's in a different criteria. So let us know if that pops up in your school. Any of your bonuses. So if you've got any retention bonuses or signing bonuses, those are not reportable. Your bus driving is not reportable, and anything associated with bus driving. If you do a seminar on the safeties of bus driving, that would not be reportable to us along with the bus driving. It's all connected. And any of your early retirement incentives, we're seeing a lot of that right now with people retiring, that we're auditing some salaries, and that pops up as a $2,000 salary that was reported, and it should not be. It's kind of like a bonus. And any of your fringe benefits. So if they go to a conference and you're paying for their meals and their lodging and all of the different things that they need, those pieces are not reportable to us. The time spent at the conference is, but not the fringe benefits. Any of your insurance programs. So if they have AFLAC, that type of thing, you do not report that to us. It's just their contract. You don't figure in the insurance programs that are coming off that contract. Any of your janitorial pay, any referee paying, any ticket taking is not reportable. Of course, the teacher's aid, they are not, any of the paraprofessionals, they are not reportable to us. Again, the unused sick, personal, and vacation time. And then for your retired members, remember that we have to make this difficult. For one, it's reportable and one it's not. But your retired members that are back working, your extracurricular is not reportable. Your professional development is not reportable. And any in-staff subbing, they can do as much in-staff subbing as they want. It's not reportable. we want to take a little break, Sarah, and just, I see some questions coming through and maybe I can take a few?
Yes, I was going to say there's a question from Lenita. Is longevity incentive / stipend reportable salary?
I would say, I mean, we've always determined that that is not, if it's the same perception as what I'm thinking it is. You know, people get something for staying on longer. I mean, if they get their increase like they always would, of course, that's reportable. But if they're getting an extra bonus, like if somebody's getting $3,000 because they're staying on and nobody else is getting that, then it's considered a bonus and would not be reportable.
Okay, and
That
then
answers that.
Mark had asked, and it looks like Denise answered. And Denise, you should be able to
Oh,
unmute yourself if you need to add anything more. But Mark had asked, will we report only June hours for retired teachers on the final report like every other month, or will we report total hours for the year on the final report? And Denise answered, only the June hours if you've been reporting hours for the retirees each month during the fiscal year. So I think her message there then is be consistent. And again, I can go back to that screen. Then Mark, you would want to double check on your retirees that your totals hours worked when you close them out are accurate. Correct, Tammy?
yeah. And on this report, and going back to what Denise said is correct. Because you're putting them on every month, it's keeping track of the number of hours. So if you would put the total on June, it's going to make the hours 3,000 hours. We want to show where it is, each month has its own hours and it should equal at the end what the total should be, if that makes sense. And one of the ways you can check them is if you go into your employer summary report, after you've got everything posted, you can go into that report and it'll show you the last day worked and the number of hours. And you can double check there and make sure that you've posted everything correctly. But it
Well,
should
thank you
just
for
be the
that.
number for June. Oh, go ahead, Denise.
Yeah, I was just going to say thank you because I wasn't sure where the employers could see the total hours.
Yeah, if you
But
go
yeah, okay.
under,
It's the employer payroll detail.
yes.
Or is that just for the report, Tammy?
I got
For
logged
that
out
monthly
here.
report.
Get back in.
And I will say, I'll just kind of chime in here. You know,
Sure.
if you have a retired teacher working at your school, and you need to double check on hours, please send me an email, give me a call. I certainly will be happy to help you get that information. So
Denise is our retirement guru. So if you have any questions on teachers retiring, or if they have questions, please direct them to her or one of our member specialists, because they are very knowledgeable in this side of it. I'm going to show real quick, just share. So if you want to double check that report, you can go into the hamburger menu and then come down to organization details. And then you can generate, and I don't want to open one because it's going to have, I think it has socials on there. I can't remember, but you can look at last year's fiscal year. So you could look at 24, 25, or you could look at this fiscal year and see where you're at so far. And once you upload your June or your May report, your last one of the year, I would highly suggest going into the current fiscal year, and it will have everybody's last day taught and hours on there, and double check them. And let us know if you see something. You can't go back and correct after you've posted, but at least we could do something. And Denise and her team would be able to go in and make some corrections, or at least have it on their radar.
Okay, we've got a couple more questions, Tammy.
Sure.
Kimberly is asking, if I have a retired teacher teaching driver's ed this summer, but does not have a contract, is that reportable?
So there's nothing, I want to make sure, because usually for driver's ed, I mean, and the big thing with them is sometimes they don't have licenses. They don't have teaching licenses. But if this gentleman or lady has a teaching license, and there's nothing in writing, and so we don't just mean a contract, we also mean, you know, a written agreement. We mean if there's something in the board minutes that says so and so is going to do our driver's ed and he's going to get paid this much, and this is, you know, when this is going to happen, that also considers a contract. And we just want to make sure that people are getting reported, you know, for the salary that they're earning. And the next person that does it may want TFFR to be reported. So just make sure it's consistent and that they're really, if there is really nothing in writing anywhere that this person is going to be doing this for you, then I would say, yes, it's not reportable. But anything in writing counts.
Okay,
And if you have more
Teresa-
questions, you can let me know.
Okay. And Teresa's asking if we pay a stipend for teachers to watch infinite campus videos during the summer, is that reportable?
So I'm assuming that that's professional development.
Yeah, I don't know what that is, Tammy.
Yeah. If it is professional development and it's something that they're required to do for their job, then yes, it would be reportable. But if there's more to it, if you want to reach out to me and just so we can see what it actually is. But that would be the guideline for what professional development is.
Okay, and then
Good
there's
question.
a question. Yeah, question from Kimberly. For the retired teacher hours in June, if they did not work in that month, they will have earned wages but no hours, and the system will error out, won't it, if hours are 0?
Yes.
Um,
I mean, they need to have hours on there. I guess my question would be is if you're reporting salary in June, doesn't that tie off to some hours that they would have worked? That would be my
but
question.
but
And
if
Denise
it's
asked, please.
contract, yeah, I don't know if it's contract payouts, maybe there won't be. But
Okay.
I don't know, you may have to put an hour in. So you really have to watch the limits. So I'm not sure, Tammy, what happened
She
last year,
said
you know, if there were,
she added that it was a contract payout, and the
yeah,
last day of
okay.
school is in May.
Okay. So
You may want to save a couple hours for that report. If that's contract
yes,
payouts, I mean,
good idea.
you might still, I don't think you have to figure it out to the hour, but certainly you may want to just hold back a couple hours just so that you have room to put those hours in June, because yeah, you're right, it will
Good
probably
idea.
zero out.
Yep.
And if you need further explanation on that, please reach out to us, Kim. So.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, and then we had Yvonne added a question under organizational details. Once I generate the report and it looks good, I save it, then I am done with reporting for the year. Can you just confirm how they know that they are done for the year, Tammy?
You should be sure. I mean, like Denise said, I think that the report is going to tell you if you haven't gotten last day taught in hours for somebody. So once you've uploaded that June report and you've included that information, you've done your contract payouts, you've done the last day worked, and you've done the total hours, and you go into that, you're going to generate your fiscal year, and that information is all on there, then I would say you're completed. Yeah. And you've paid.
Okay.
I mean, make sure you've uploaded the report and paid it. But yeah, then you would be done. And if you just want verification of it, you can put in a contact ticket and say, hey, am I done? That works for me. I can double check.
I would also add that it's probably a good idea just to compare what you paid last year, because some people forget to expense the contracts out. So make sure that it kind of is reasonable with what you're paying from year to year.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I would definitely look at those hours and make sure they don't look goofy. If there's 3,000 hours on there, yeah, that's not correct. And so then let us know.
Okay,
We'll try to get a little bit more proactive.
Teresa says currently the report forces hours each month for the retired teacher, or there's an error. So do we add the total of all those month for the June report again?
No, not if you have been reporting those hours. And like say it just, you may have to put an hour or two in there. But yeah, if you leave it blank, I believe or leave it 0, it's going to error out. So you will have to probably add an hour
Yeah.
or two. And if you're getting an error, please let Tammy or myself know, and we will help you through that report.
Yeah, because the hours are adding up throughout the year, if you would put a total on the June report, you'd be way too high. You want to only put the hours that you have for May or June, or like Denise said, just put an hour so that you can get the report through.
Okay, and then Mark is asking for the summary report. It generates a PDF. It would be helpful if this would also generate an Excel or CSV option that would allow for filtering, sorting, etc. Please consider this for a future enhancement, especially for larger districts. It's a good point.
Yes,
Thank
it is.
you.
Chase,
Very
put
good.
that on your list.
Yeah.
Or wish
I
list.
never thought of that, Mark, but yeah, that would be, I was thinking you could, I just went in because I had to look at it. And yeah, there's no way to put it to Excel, is there?
So that we may need to look into that. I mean, we can on our side put almost anything into Excel,
True.
so it would be kind of weird that you wouldn't be able to, Mark. So yeah, we can certainly take a look at that.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. We don't have any more questions
Caught up?
right now. Denise, are you ready to talk about
Yes.
retired member action? I'm going to go back to sharing my
Does
screen.
it, do you want me to take this one, Denise, or you're probably more, yeah.
You know, I have just a little blip, but yeah. Oh no, I
Sure.
think you should take this
Okay,
one.
okay, okay. Yeah, and
Actually, yeah.
I'll quit on the next one. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Okay.
So, and I'm working a lot with this right now. Our member specialists who are Denise's team are really, really active right now in retirements. And of course, you guys all know because you're sending us the paperwork and working just as much as they are. So we want to just double check and make sure that you understand what's expected of you. And a lot of times this time of year, people are kind of panicking because, you know, you have a teacher that you didn't even know was retiring and they walk in and they say, hey, I'm done. What do I got to do? And so, you know, it puts pressure on you and you're thinking, oh, I got to get this, I got to get going on this. I've got things to do. And my first thing I want to say is don't worry about it, because until they contact our office, we won't send you anything. So and if they come into your office and say, I'm retiring, tell them, contact TFFR, because I can't do anything until I get the email from them. So that's the first step, is to have them contact our office. In our old system, you were kind of the one that was running and getting everything done. And now you can just sit back until you hear from us. Once we hear from them and you get the email from us, you're going to get these instructions on what is required of you to do. And the first thing is to verify the member's salary for the current fiscal year. So you're going to go onto your dashboard, and I'm going to show, let's see, I'm just going to do a share. I keep taking this away from you, Sarah. You're probably, okay. So if you go into your dashboard, this is on your home page, and you will see submit salary verification card. This is where you go, the form that you used to do with us, which was on paper. This is now that form. It's all done online and it's pretty slick. It's a wizard. So it's really, really nice. So you're going to go in here and you're going to put, and you can search by their first name, their last 4 digits. I usually just go into the status. And if you have not done sometimes people will go out of order on this and they'll terminate the employer first, or excuse me, and put the member first. If you've already done the termination before the other stuff, then you're going to look for your person in the terminated. It's going to be here. But if you haven't terminated them yet, then they're going to be in the active. And so you'll just pick that and hit search. And like I said, if you want to put their last name so that the search isn't as much, they'll come up in this area. And then you'll pick them. And when you go to the next screen, there should be a new button. And you'll click that new button, and that's going to bring up the salary verification form. And it's very similar to what you did on paper in our old system. So this is the first step that you're going to want to do. If you have more additional questions on that form, drop me a contact ticket. I've been walking a lot of people through it, because it does ask for their last day. It asks for their hours. You have to put in the salaries that you've reported so that they match what we have on our side. And sometimes that amount is off, and it's just because they had a stipend for subbing or something. So if you run into an issue on that, and Denise too can help you with that also. But that's your first thing is you want to do is do that salary verification form, and it should balance before you can submit it. But once you've done that, then you need to upload your acceptance of members' resignation. So you'll go back to your home page, and right next to your salary verification card is your upload a document. So you'll click on this, and I don't have anything in here. So this will fill in it. It'll ask you what you're doing. It'll ask you what kind of document it is. You'll have it saved somewhere on your computer. So you'll choose that document and you'll send it to us. And that's, Denise, I'm going to refer to you on this one. It's usually the acceptance of the resignation, like through the school board minutes. Is that what you normally ask for? Sorry.
Yes, the resignation acceptance.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it need to be signed?
Well,
Like-
sometimes, see, it doesn't sometimes get signed. We're not too picky about that. It doesn't matter. So it kind of depends on the timing. If you can, if it's early in the year, like if it's January, February, it's great to have that signature. But if not, for running into time constraints, because they don't sign them until the next month, then
Sure.
just upload it. Yeah, and we'll reach out if we need anything additional. So.
Okay, thank you. And then your third thing you're going to do is you're going to terminate that member. So you're back on your home page, and you're going to go into create an enrollment. And once in here, and I'm not doing anything, so it's not giving me the options, but up here you will get your different enrollment types. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen this when you do your enrollment for a new employee and you see the new enrollment. There's a termination, which is the last one. So you'll click that termination, and then you'll go in and you'll find your person and go through all the steps. And when you put your date in, you'll always want to use, like for this year, it's June 30th, 2026. We want to make sure that we're not doing like a last day tot or something like that, because you have more salary to report for them. And if we close them out, we can't do that. So make sure you're using the last day of the fiscal year, which for this year is the 6/30/2026. And we do have that on here for you.
Tammy?
Yes.
I believe you did say this, but on the salary verification card, it does ask for a last day tot, correct?
Oh, yes.
And that would be the last day, like maybe their last day is May 22nd. But when you get to this enrollment, this is where you'll put the June 30th date. And correct me if I'm wrong, right, Tammy?
Yes, you are correct. Yep.
Okay, so there's
Yep.
a couple different dates you may,
Yes.
that may be different here, so.
Yes. And like I said, at the beginning of this is, if you have a member that's retiring and they're wondering why you don't have your stuff done, make sure they've checked with us first, because you'll get all your correspondence from us before you have to do anything. So. Okay, I'm going to get out of here. I'll stop sharing. And
I'm
Denise,
just going to add
yeah.
one more thing
Oh.
before I talk. So the reason we want that termination date to be June 30th, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, but I believe the reason we want you to put June 30th is so that we can accept those contract payouts.
Yes.
And
Yep.
any salary
And we don't
that's
want them closed
reported in
earlier,
June.
because then we can't add anything. So yes.
Okay.
And then Denise, the next one's yours.
We've got a couple questions.
Sure.
Let's address those. So Janae is asking, is this for all resignations and retirements, or just if they're retiring? So how does the process would differ if someone is just resigning is not a retirement, Tammy?
And I may defer to Denise. If they're just, I'll say what I know. She'll know more about the refund process. If they're just leaving the school district and they may be going to a different school district or something like that, or they're leaving teaching altogether, you don't have to notify us of that. We'll know if they go to a different school, because we'll get the new enrollment from them. But for that kind of thing, we don't need to have any kind of documentation from you. But a refund would be different, and I'll refer that to Denise.
So yes, I would say that anytime an employee or a teacher resigns, you would want to go in and complete that termination enrollment, so that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Tammy, but I believe if they're even going to a different school,
Oh, okay.
I believe they have to terminate them. For
Okay.
sure, if I mean, if they're resigning, because if they decide to take a refund of their TFFR account, we're going to need you to go in and do that anyway. So yes, you would have to
Always do a termination date. Thank you. I
always
didn't
do
know
that
that.
termination. Yes.
Okay.
You just,
Okay.
I don't believe there's a any documents that you have to upload, but you will have to go in and at least terminate them.
Okay, so Paulette is asking, do I need to send the resignation and minutes of acceptance for a retired teacher retiring again? So if she sent some
No.
documentation once,
No.
okay,
And the only exception to that would be if a retiree is has suspended their TFFR benefits and then they're going to re-retire again. And there's only right now there's only like 3 or 4 of them out there. So I believe you will know if that's one of them, but otherwise no.
okay. And then Renee is asking if they have a J1 visa holder and an international teacher who's going back to their country at the end of the year. Are there special steps for this?
None other than just to complete the enrollment termination process. So and
Because
that's all I know, Tammy, unless you have something.
Yeah,
because oftentimes those individuals do want refunds.
yes. And I do get, there's always urgency because they want to get back, and a lot of them leave before the end of June. But I have told, business managers that you actually have till July 15th to get your final report in. And a lot of them, their contract payouts are on that June report. So they do need to be patient. And our member specialists, if they call in, we'll work with them. They do a really great job on, letting them know the process and how long it can take and whatever. But, we can't do them any earlier than when July 15th rolls around. I mean, that's usually the date. So they have to arrange something with their banks and whatever.
Right. Right.
Okay.
And then one
Okay.
more question. If a retiree is not coming back for the next school year, do we terminate them in the system? Tammy, I'm not really sure. I would say yes, but I don't know if they have to actually, but I'm going to say yes, you should do that.
I would, now that what you mentioned before, that if somebody is leaving to always do a termination date, I think it's a good idea. Yep.
I was just going to point out for Renee's benefit, we did do some webinars this year with CREA
Yes.
or with the education associations for the teachers from overseas. And actually, if your visa holder teacher that's leaving is not familiar with that education that we did on the TFFR member webpage, under presentations, there's a recording in the slides there that you could refer that individual to, so that would probably help answer some of their questions they might have about the process as they're leaving. So, and again, it's on the member page under presentations that says teachers from overseas. So
yes, that is a good resource.
Okay, now Denise.
Okay, well, sorry I joined late this morning. So good morning, everybody. It's great to see a lot of you on the call this morning, and just want to say thank you for joining. And there are a lot of rules surrounding the Return to Teach program with TFFR, and we could spend honestly an hour or more just talking about all the details. But what I want you all to remember, basically on this slide, is that a teacher must terminate employment to be eligible to retire and receive retirement benefits at the same time. So make sure that at the time of retirement, there can be no written pre-existing agreements indicating reemployment after retirement. And what that means is, you can talk about it, but there cannot be anything in writing. There can't be anything in board minutes, anything like that. No written agreements indicating that you're going to hire a teacher back for the next year if they're planning to retire. And that is a federal law. I mean, if they are going to retire, receive retirement benefits from a retirement government pension plan and then go back to work, they do have to be out the 30 days. The employer must notify our office. So, make sure that if you do this summer or, hire a retired teacher, make sure you notify us within 30 days of their first day. And actually, Tammy, I believe they might have to notify us even before they start or before the first payroll, or before the first TFFR report is reported to us. So notification must be made each year the retiree is employed. So not just when they're first reemployed, but also every year that you hire a retired teacher. So, and Tammy, were you just about to say something?
No, nope.
Okay. So Tammy, maybe what we should do is just talk a little bit about that, how to actually notify us. And I'm going to kind of defer to you on that.
Okay. Like the form that you want to talk about, the form, like doing the new enrollment?
Yes, the new
Yeah.
enrollment, just kind of a high overview about that.
Yes. So every year, and like she said, every year you're going to have to, we used to do the form on paper. Every year you had to notify us that this person was coming back to work, how many hours, what the length of their contract was, and all of that. And so you used to send us a form every year. And now that we've got our new system, we can go back to that, create an enrollment. And every year it will be a new enrollment. And that seems weird because there is some in there for back to work and some of those different subjects. And that has to do with military leave and other things. And it does get confusing, but pick the new enrollment. You should always pick new enrollment for pretty much everything you're doing, except if you're doing a termination. So pick the new enrollment and then go in. And when you search for them, the system knows that they're a retired teacher already. So it's going to ask you the pertinent questions that we need for them to come back to work. And then double check to make sure. We're finding that a lot of people are just picking the general rule, which means they're just in a 9-month, 10-month, 11-month contract. If you know that they're critical shortage, or if you're wondering if they are, reach out to us and check first, because a lot of the issues that we're having with hours that are being reported, and the system is saying, oh, they should have only worked 700 hours, but they're critical shortage. By picking that they are the general rule is what's stopping those hours. So let us know if you think somebody's critical shortage, and every subject is critical shortage except for administrative salary. So if you've got an administrator back, they do have to be within their guidelines. But all the rest can be critical shortage, although they do have to be out for a year to qualify for that. So they would retire, they're out for a year, then they can come back. And I'm kind of getting into a little deeper than I was going to. But anyway,
no, that's okay. I'm glad
it was one of the things I thought of.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because, but yes, many of you have been just selecting that general rule, and that's what's giving you the error on those reports. And also what Tammy had mentioned earlier, they do have to be retired for a whole year before they're eligible for that critical shortage area. So make sure that you check with us, or make sure the teacher checks with us so that they know the rules. So, again, the main thing that we want you to know about this slide is that there cannot be anything in writing. There can be no prearranged agreement in writing with these teachers that are going to retire and then come back to work, because they do have to be out the 30 days. And again, if you want them to be eligible for that critical shortage area, they have to be out for a full year. So, yeah, and then Tammy kind of got into the enrollment part of it, which we will go over again later on, I would say sometime this summer. So yes, Sarah.
Yvonne is asking in regard to retirement, can a retired person do piecemeal work for hire, which is not through TFFR? Can a retired person do subbing without further paperwork? If you can address that, Denise, and I can show Yvonne where she can find some information on our website as well.
Yes, good question. So a retiree can do as much subbing as they want as long as it's not a contracted sub. Now, there are some schools that have started to contract their subs because that's how, desperate schools are for substitute teachers. But so yes, they can sub as much as they want as long as they're not contracted.
And then as far as like piecemeal work or other work, I would say, Yvonne, if you refer your employee to the member page, again, there is a section on there on working after retirement. And there's information in their handbook as well as a fact sheet that describes the other type of work that they're able to do without
Yeah.
having any concerns about it impacting their retirement.
And I would also add to that is if you're thinking about hiring a retiree for anything other than just subbing day to day, or if it's custodial work, obviously that's not reportable. If you hire them to be an aide, teacher's aide, that's not reportable. I would say everything else, extracurricular is not reportable for retirees anymore. It used to be up until a few years ago. But if it's anything else, I would ask you to reach out to us because there are just so many different job situations out there. So good idea to check with us first.
Okay. She's saying
Okay.
that this individual is apparently going to just help with conferences. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I would, yeah. Why don't you reach out to us, Yvonne?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Yep, and that's all I had.
All right.
Okay.
I'll go to the next slide.
Got just one more topic we want to touch on. And our employer payment plan models. We used to, again, this used to be a piece of paper that we would get from you every year that showed what your new model was going to be for the new fiscal year. So starting on July 1st, this year will be July 1st, 2026. And now you can do it right online, which we require you to do. You won't be able to upload any reports until this has been picked for the new fiscal year. And I'm going to show you where to go. So if you go back to your hamburger menu and go into your organization details, and then you're going to come over to employer model election details. And then every year you're required to update whether you're changing models or not. So you'll have to go in, click your new button, pick which model you're going to be. And then there'll be the start, and then you'll put in the end date. So when you're doing this now, and we actually encourage you to do it right now. If you're done with your negotiations and you know what you're going to be, go in, stick it in there, and then you're done with this part. But you would just put your end date will be 6/30/2027. Start date would of course be 7/1/2026. Put in the amount that your school is picking up. Now, if you're a Model 1, that's going to stay 0 because they're picking up all of their side and you're picking up your side. So that would stay 0. But if you're a Model 2 partial, you'll have to put in your amount here. And remember that effective July 1st, 2025, it has to be whole numbers. So the amounts you could not do a 3.75, you could not do a 7.5. It has to be a whole number. Unless you get to the point where you're a Model 2 and you're picking up everything, then it's 11.75 because that's just the highest. So that one you can have because you're picking the full pickup. But anything else needs to be 1%, 2%, 3%, something like that. It has to be a whole number. And then once you've done that, you'll hit, I think a save button comes up, you'll hit save, and then you're ready for the next year. And it'll start applying. If you have a new model, it'll start applying that for you. If, like I said, if you don't do this and you try to upload your July report, it's going to error out because you don't have your new model in here. And we do have one of the gals in our office is going to be monitoring to make sure that we're going to be kind of watching to make sure of the people who don't have it done because it'll get to be a headache if we have a lot. So once we encourage you to go out there and do it right away. And then just to let you know that if your staff is going to be Model 2 with a 5% pickup, that includes everybody. Sometimes people ask if their administrator can be different than the rest of their staff. And that's no, because you're sending in a report and everybody has to be the same model. We wouldn't be able to pick certain people out. So everybody, when you're doing your negotiations, make sure you know that they are all the same. So that's the part on the model. And then the next screen just kind of showed you, again, the screen that I was just showing you online of where you're gonna put in your end date and then put in the amount of your pickup and hit save. And then that piece is done for you. You don't have to worry about that at your end if you already know it. And I'll just do a follow-up. Any other questions before I hit the last of this stuff? Are we good?
Okay, Mitzi is asking if you were a Model 2 full, they don't want you to put the percentage in.
You should put the 11.75% in there. You should, because it's going to ask you what percent you're picking up. And that should be empty for you when you let me know if it's not that way. But you should have to put that.
She says, I just did it and it bumped out is all. So.
Oh, I'll give you a call, Mitzi. We'll see what we can find. I'll make a note here. Okay, and the last page is, oh, I was gonna say, I just
yes,
saw Lisa's
and you
comment.
can, yes, Lisa's asking. So yeah, if you can complete this now, Janae is saying yes, if you leave it blank, it works and automatically puts it in. Okay,
Oh,
so if you
okay.
select Model 2 full, it's going to fill it apparently for you.
Oh, okay. See, I learned stuff on these programs too.
I was just going to say, we learned something from you guys all
Yeah,
the time.
I did not.
Yeah,
not
somebody
making
else
updates.
just said it
So,
did that for them as
awesome.
well. So, okay, well, I guess we have the answer then, Mitzi.
Yeah. Sometimes they do updates and we don't know what all gets affected. So that's great.
Okay.
So anyway, just to wrap this up, if you need any other assistance, of course, we always say contact us, use your contact tile out on your dashboard. We're taking those first before we take emails, and it's been working great. That way we can kind of monitor it. Chase kind of keeps track of what the common, questions are, how many we're getting and that type of thing. So he can take it back to the software company and say, hey, this is something that keeps happening. And so we'd like to be able to use that contact ticket. So please continue to do that. We've got a lot of great resources. If you go to that TFFR tab that I told you about, the employer guide is out there. MyTFFR handbook is out there. The employer guide is an overview of, what's reportable, what's not reportable. The TFFR stuff, kind of a lot of that we talked about today. The MyTFFR handbook is great because that's our system. So if you've got a question on, this screen doesn't look right to me, or where do I put this in here, there's screenshots on there and you can go right out there and see our new system and how to work around different things. And then of course that TFFR resources where I went to the pay codes, I want to just mention, if you're getting errors on your report and you're still not sure where to find those, go to the tab for the errors and it'll show you each screen where you can find out what's going on. A lot of them are licenses that have expired, but it'll show you how to find that. And then of course, if you go to our publications tab, then we've got, our quarterly newsletter is out there, and any updates that we send. Sarah's been awesome about sending you guys things as we need to. And we've gotten a lot more proactive on things that are coming up. We'll be sending out some reminders again for the model change. And so double check there too for any updates. And we're going to do one last MyTFFR office hours on May 6th. So this is the ones we've been doing these every month. And what is it? The first Tuesday? I think that's what we've been doing, Sarah.
Wednesday.
And it's just an open forum. I usually bring a couple things that I've noticed that we've had a lot of questions on, and I'll talk for maybe the first 5-10 minutes. And then it's whatever you guys want to ask. We just let you go, and it's been very helpful to people. We've gotten a lot of great feedback on it. So we're going to talk about, I think we'll be done for a little bit here with year end, but probably pick it back up because it's been a great resource. So.
And registration for that, or the email, will go out tomorrow. So you'll see that tomorrow. So get it on your calendars, because if you have questions as you're going through your end close, that's a great opportunity to come in and ask those questions and learn from each other, and as we learn from you today.
Yes, exactly.
So I did have one other question about the recording. Yes, we did record today's presentation, and we will put that onto our YouTube channel and the slides as well and send that out to you. So there's actually a newsletter that's planned to go out tomorrow, and so there'll be a prompt in the newsletter, but we'll send out a separate notification as well, because we want to send out an event evaluation too. So
Thank you, everybody. We sure appreciate you coming on, and a lot of great questions. So thank you for participating.